Alright, so I got Fast Pass. Going to go on to the Kilimanjaro safaris. Let's go ahead and board. Alright, let's go. Oh, look at there, Fiki's Planet Watch. Thought that place closed already.
Alright, Caribou does mean welcome. Friends, so slide on in, watch your head, watch your step forward all the way in for me. Your whole party doesn't fit, do not sit, not to worry. We'll be on the next truck, no need to squeeze in awkwardly with strangers.
See up here we got a whole list of animals that we may see on this tour.
Jalo friends, welcome to Kilimanjaro Safaris. My name is Stephanie and I will be your safari driver today as we head into the Harambe Wildlife Reserve. Please do stay seated during our journey. Hang on to any valuables you might have brought along with you, including those children. It can get pretty bumpy out there and I would definitely hate to lose anything or any one of you guys out on the reserve today. Now, if you look above your heads there, you'll see an animal spotting guide. We might not see all of those animals out there, but we usually get pretty lucky, and this is a photo safari, so feel free to have those cameras out and at the ready. Usually best to have those set to an action setting, a sports setting, or a fast shutter speed. That's because those animals can move pretty quick when they want to, and as you can see, we are moving as well. We're going to start our journey out here today in the Little Sirui Forest. Many forest animals have camouflage that help them to blend into their surroundings. They're pretty good at staying hidden, but we'll see if we can't find a few of them out here in between these trees. It looks like there might be a bit of camouflage in use already. To our right hand side, you'll see some striped legs about midway up that hill there to our right. That is an okapi. Those stripes on the okapi's legs look a lot like a zebra's stripes, but they're not related to the zebra at all. In fact, they're the only living relative to the giraffe. Both are going to have really long prehensile tongues that are perfect for grabbing those leaves off trees and bushes. And as a species, they're also really good at staying hidden. They were unknown to the Western world until the year 1901. Up until that point, they were believed to be a myth or a hallucination. And even to this day, we don't really know how many of those okapi live out in the wild. We'll take one last look at that okapi there. We're going to head over in the direction of this larger watering hole off to our left-hand side. Usually a pretty good place to find those animals. They'll stop by these throughout the day, grab themselves a drink, cool off a bit. So we'll see if we can't find a few visitors nearby. Well, it looks like there might be a very large visitor to this watering hole. Up on the hill to our left-hand side in front of that pile of boulders at the very top, you can just make out a black rhinoceros, giving us its best side. Not the most glamorous view, but we'll take what we can get. Now that black rhino there is going to weigh upwards of 3,000 pounds. You might have caught a glimpse of its horns as well, made out of keratin, the same material as our hair and our fingernails are. People once believed that those horns on the rhino held medicinal or magical properties, but we now know this to definitely not be the case. Unfortunately, a lot of rhinos like those are still hunted and poached for their horns, leaving less than 5,000 black rhinos out in the wild to this day, only a few thousand more white rhinos. There is a bit more movement up ahead here, so you're around this corner, and a bit more color as well. At the very top of the hill, those cinnamon-colored antelope are called bongos, also known as the ghosts of the forest. And a little bit closer to us, a little easier to see these lighter colored antelope that look a lot like deer. Those are greater kudu. I'm not seeing any horns on those kudu there, most likely a couple of females, though the males of their species have horns that can reach up to 6 feet in length on top of their heads, so quite the hefty weight up there. But we're going to make our way out of the Little Sirui Forest now, head on over towards the Safi River. And as we move down into the Safi River, we're going to want to be on the lookout for any ripples we might see in the water. Could mean that there's an animal just beneath the surface. Though I don't think we'll have to strain our eyes too hard, my friends. Out on the bank, that is a Nile hippopotamus. Hippos like this love to spend most of their time in the water. They can actually stay submerged up to 8 minutes at a time, but they will come out on the banks like this to graze. They'll eat about 90 pounds of vegetation in a single day. That helps these hippos reach that full size in which they tip the scales at about 5,500 pounds. And you'll notice there are a lot of blackbirds hanging out around that hippo there. Those are vultures. They have a symbiotic relationship with that hippo. They'll eat the dead skin off the hippo's back, and the hippo loves that free skincare. Well, it looks like there is another hippo or two up ahead here, so we're headed in the right direction. And joining these hippos out here, perched on the island to our left, that's a pod of pink-backed pelicans, a few swimming around as well. They get that name from the pink coloration they get during mating season. And their mating season has just ended, so if they happen to lift their wings up, you might be able to catch a glimpse of that remaining color. But as you can see, hippos are really social animals. They like to hang out in larger groups like this. There are a few more up ahead here. Together in these larger groups, they're known as a bloat. Very fitting, again, because when full grown, they tip the scales at about 5,500 pounds. And another hippo out of the water on our left-hand side there, splashing around a little bit. Those hippos look pretty calm down in the river, pretty slow moving, but they're actually one of Africa's most dangerous animals. They are super territorial, so it's a good thing that we're keeping our distance like this, because we wouldn't fare very well down there with any of them. And it looks like those hippos aren't the only dangerous animals out here on the river, because down below us on the left are quite a few Nile crocodiles. Now, Nile crocodiles like these are the largest species of crocodiles, reaching up to 20 feet in length. And just like all reptiles, these crocodiles are cold-blooded, so when they get too cool in that water, they'll hop out onto the banks like some of them have. Sundays, try to warm themselves up a little bit, and vice versa. When they get too warm on the banks, they'll hop back in the river to cool down again. Well, those crocs eat a diet of mostly fish, but we're going to try to put some distance between us and them nonetheless, because they have been known to eat anything that crosses their path. So we're going to make sure that isn't one of us, or at least not me. And instead, we are going to head over in the direction of the savannah. Well, the savannah is home to many of Africa's most famous animals, so we're going to try our hand at spotting a few of them out there this afternoon. Already seeing a prominent feature of the savannah off to our right-hand side there, that tree that looks like its roots are sticking up in the air. That is a baobab tree, or an upside-down tree. We'll probably see a few more of those scattered throughout the grasslands up ahead. But in the meantime, we've got a fantastic view of the savannah coming down this hill here. I already see a few of those animals that call it their home. A lot of the animals that live out here will greatly influence the beauty of their environment through their eating habits. So giraffes are going to prune down the trees when they eat. Elephants will knock over these trees when looking for food. And many hoof-stock animals like wildebeest and antelope essentially mow these grasses down when they graze. And in that way, a lot of different species work together to create this really unique ecosystem, which we're seeing out here. And speaking of hoof-stock animals, already on our right-hand side, you can see we're coming up on a few longer horns. Those are attached to some Ankole cattle, also known as Watusi cattle, named after the Watusi tribe here in Africa who first domesticated them. Those horns on their heads can reach up to 6 feet in length, and they probably look super heavy, but they're mostly hollow and fairly lightweight. They're like a sort of built-in cooling system for these cattle, so throughout the day blood will flow up into the open spaces in those horns, disperse some extra heat, and then come back down into the cattle's body a little bit cooler. And just beyond all these cattle, it looks like there are a few giraffes up ahead, so we'll swing around, get a little bit closer. Giraffes can be pretty hard to miss. They're the tallest land animal in the world, reaching heights of up to 20 feet. But there is a den to our left-hand side here. Dens like this usually belong to predators, so we're going to be nosy, peek around, see if anyone's home.
There's one. I think that's a pumpkin. That's a pumpkin.
Well, things are pretty quiet down there. Ooh, but it looks like there is a bit of napping going on to the right of the den. Those are African wild dogs with that calico-colored fur. They're hanging out in the shade trying to stay cool over there. They look really cute and cuddly, almost like the canines we keep in our own homes, but these African wild dogs are much, much fiercer. We're looking at some of Africa's most successful hunters. One's up and about in front of the den there. Well, these African wild dogs even out-hunt most of the big cats out here, like the lions and cheetahs. They also earn themselves the nickname painted dogs for their very unique markings and coloration. Also, as we round this bend off to our left-hand side there, a small group of sable antelope hanging out in the shade. one of the few species of antelope out here on the savanna who will actually fight back against predators. They have those backward curved horns, which are perfect for deterring attacking lions from jumping on their backs. But we finally made our way over to some of these giraffes up ahead. Oh, and we are in luck, my friends. Little baby giraffe laying just underneath that tree there. Much smaller than these full-grown giraffes out here. Not quite reaching that 20 feet, but still pretty tall. Born at around 6 feet in height already. And we'll let this Watusi cross very slowly. Yep. There we go. Well, as we pass them by, you can get a good idea just how large those horns are. Ooh, and joining these giraffes amidst the tall grasses along the slope of the hill there, that is a Patterson's eland under the shade, blending in pretty well. One of Africa's largest antelope. You'll see the female chewing on the tall bushes there and the male tucked up along the tree line. You can tell it's a male just because of the size. The male elands will reach about 6 feet in height at the shoulder and end up weighing about 2,000 pounds. So that's about the same weight as a giraffe packed into that antelope. We'll get a little bit closer to some of these giraffes here on our left-hand side. You might have noticed a lot of the giraffes out here are busy eating. That's not surprising in the least. They devote about 16 to 20 hours of their day to eating or searching for food, so you'll almost always catch them grabbing a quick bite like this. You can also get a pretty good look at that long giraffe tongue at work there. That tongue is 18 inches in length, so that's from the tips of your fingers down to your elbow. It's really good at grabbing those leaves off the tallest branches. Also a bit purplish black in color instead of pink like we're used to. That just prevents that tongue from getting sunburnt since it's out all the time. Like I said, they spend about 20 hours of their day eating. You might think that wouldn't leave enough time for these giraffes to sleep, but that is definitely not the case for these guys. They generally only sleep about 30 minutes a day, and they're going to break that up into even smaller increments. About 5 minutes here or a minute or two there. Does not take much to keep these giraffes well rested at all. These tiny power naps keep them on the alert, on the ready for any predators that might come their way. Speaking of eating, there's also a bit of grazing going on straight ahead of us here off to our right-hand side. A small herd of white-bearded wildebeest. Unsurprisingly, their name in Afrikaans literally translates to wild beast, though they've also earned themselves the nickname noo-noo cattle for the new grunting noise they make when they eat. It can sound kind of similar to a cow's moo. Well, these wildebeest out here are well suited to their dry savanna environment. They can go up to 6 days without a drink of water if necessary. And like I said, it looks like a small herd, relatively small compared to the herd size once they migrate. Those numbers can reach up to 1.5 million, and they've been known to move over hundreds of miles together. In fact, these migrations have gotten so large they've even been seen from space before through satellite imaging. You can see all those wildebeest spanning the continent of Africa kicking up dust. But we're going to head a little bit further into the savannah now. We've had some pretty good luck so far, so hopefully that luck will continue over this way for us. Well, it looks like it just might. Seems like there are a few more trees that have fallen up ahead. Like I said, elephants will bulldoze those trees over when looking for food so they can better reach the leaves at the tops of those trees. So we're probably entering elephant country. I'm not seeing any elephants just yet, but there is a bit of movement up to our left-hand side. Just under the bushes there, you can see a few mandrills. Some of Africa's largest monkeys, just like Rafiki in The Lion King. And not surprising, these mandrills are in this area. They often share geographic locations with elephants, and it looks like there is an elephant off to our right-hand side there. You can often find mandrills and elephants in the similar locations. From time to time, you might see that elephant there flap its ears. That's how they cool themselves off. It's kind of like fanning themselves. It's going to push that extra heat away from their bodies. It'll also cool down the blood vessels in their ears. And it's pretty effective. It can lower their body temperature by about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll try to swing around this way so we can get a little bit closer to that elephant there. The road's closed off to our right-hand side, so we won't be able to get too much closer. And I'm not seeing any more elephants back there. Oh, there is one just peeking out from behind the bushes there. It looks like it might just be the two of these elephants back here, possibly a couple of males. They are a bit more solitary or live in smaller bachelor herds like this, whereas the females and younger elephants will usually stick together in larger, more close-knit herds. Though the males do sometimes hang out on the outskirts of those larger female herds, so we're going to keep trekking forward, see if we can't find the rest of that herd. But because that road back there is closed, we're going to take a bit of a detour. It shouldn't take us too far off track. If I'm not mistaken, it should actually head over in the direction of the red clay pits, and that can be a good place to find a few more elephants. They'll eat red clay like a vitamin in their diets. Unfortunately, detour is going to take us over this bridge here. Looks a little worse for wear. Doesn't sound the greatest either. I forgot to ask, you guys are cool with this, right? Great, hearing a lot of overwhelming support for this idea. Great. Not great, not great, not great. Oh, wow, you guys have really poor judgment. But you are lucky that I am such a great driver. The bridge did technically do its job in getting us across there. We have made our way over to these red clay pits here. Hopefully on the right track to finding a few more elephants. This does look promising. There are a few tusk marks crossing by that clay there, along with a few tracks. It looks like there might be another elephant up ahead here, so we're headed in the right direction. A couple of them tucked back there. Again, flapping those ears to stay cool out here. Now, some of these elephants out here on the savannah might look a little dusty or dirty to us humans. That's definitely not due to poor hygiene on their part, though. They have especially sensitive skin, so throughout the day, elephants will throw mud and dirt on their backs. That acts as a sort of natural sunblock, helps protect their skin from the harsh savannah sun out here. Also passing by a few more of these baobab trees. Again, looking like their roots are sticking up in the air, and that's because they remain leafless for about 9 months out of the year. That just allows them to conserve thousands of gallons of water, which many animals like these elephants out here will peel away the bark so that they can get at that water, also giving the baobab the nickname the Tree of Life. Speaking of watering holes, it's not surprising that we find these elephants over this way so close to this watering hole. They'll drink up to 40 gallons of water in a single day, eat up to 300 pounds of food. That'll help them reach their full size of between 10,000 and 13,000 pounds. But if you look just back beyond these two larger elephants, you'll see a smaller elephant, definitely not 13,000 pounds. That is a baby. The baby elephant is going to stick by mom's side up to 15 years of its life, making its own childhood most similar in length to our own. But unlike humans, poor mama elephant has to carry that baby for 22 months, almost 2 years, so a super lengthy gestation period for her. And to make it even harder on poor mom, that baby is born at 500 pounds.
Oh.
Joining these elephants just on the other side of the watering hole, that is a flock of greater flamingos off to our left-hand side. Greater flamingos like these are the tallest and lightest pink of all flamingo species. Well, flamingos are actually hatched gray. They get their color over time from their diet of shrimp and other crustaceans. Those crustaceans are filled with a substance called beta-carotene, which will turn those feathers that pink we know and love so much. And there's that baby once again. Again, flapping those ears. Well, it looks like this is a larger herd of females with their young, obviously. These larger herds are known as matriarchal herds. They're generally led by the oldest female elephant in the group who knows the most about keeping that herd safe. That's knowledge that she'll end up passing on over time. There's another feature of the savannah off to our left-hand side. That large mud puddle has a special name out here. It's known as a mud wallow or a mud pit. Many animals like those elephants we just saw back there, along with rhinos, will use these to cool themselves off on a hot day. Again, that mud makes a great natural sunblock for them. It also works as a bug repellent. So many, many uses for these animals out here on the savannah, many ways that they can adapt to their environment. So as we move forward, it looks like there might be a few more trees standing in this part of the savannah. That can sometimes indicate that elephants are wary of coming this direction to bulldoze those trees over for food. So we might be entering big cat country. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled, see if we can't find a few big kitties up ahead. We'll have to look pretty closely, though. Those big cats can be quite stealthy, perfect for sneaking up on their prey. It looks looks like there might be a couple of piles of spots off to our left-hand side. If you look in the shade just underneath that cluster of trees along the hill, you can see a couple of cheetahs lounging there.
Oh,
One
there we go.
directly between those two trees closest to us and one up against the tree line there. Both hanging out in the shade, blending in very well with those spots. Those cheetahs look kind of lazy right now, but they are the fastest land animal in the world. They can go from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just under 3 seconds and run upwards of 70 miles an hour when they really get moving. And unlike many other big cats, cheetahs are not nocturnal. They're diurnal, meaning they're most active during the daytime. They do most of their hunting during the daytime. That's why if you look at a cheetah's face, you'll notice a couple of black marks beneath each eye. Those help to reflect the sun so that they can better see their prey. Well, we might not be at a big cat country just yet. Rising up beside us here, these are Kopi rocks, and these large towering rocks can be a perfect place for predators to hang out during the day, soak up that sun, and scope out some prey at night. So we're gonna head along the perimeter of these Kopi rocks here and see if we can't find a few more big cats. Ooh, not seeing much in way of big cats just yet, but it looks like there's a very large animal on the move straight ahead of us here, that rhinoceros. Well, being out on the savannah like this is going to be a white rhino, a little bit larger than the black rhino we caught sight of earlier in the forest. These white rhinos out here on the savannah will weigh 5,000 pounds, so about 2,000 pounds heavier than the black rhino. There's a whole crash of rhinos back here. That is what a group of rhinos together is known as, and for good reason. Like I said, they weigh 5,000 pounds. They can also charge up to 35 miles an hour. That's kind of terrifying because they have tiny, wide-set eyes. They have really poor eyesight. They can only see about 10 feet in front of themselves, so they really can't see where they're going when they run. Joining those rhinos are also a couple of bontebok a little bit further back, those smaller antelope along the trees there. We'll probably get a little better view of those bontebok, but in the meantime, looks like there are a few big cats up on the Kopis to our left-hand side.
Oh, I see it.
A couple of lions up there. Or lionesses, I should say. Well, they're demonstrating for us just how much they love their sleep. Lions spend about 16 to 20 hours of their day resting like this. But they'll become a bit more active once it gets later out. They are nocturnal, and once that sun sets, their eyesight becomes about 6 times better than our own, which can be perfect for hunting. But until then, they're content with their cat naps. A few larger birds up ahead here, along with a few of Africa's largest burrowing animals off to our left-hand side. Looking a lot like hairy boulders with tusks. Those are warthogs, just to the left of that bush there, and to the right of the tree. One coming out of behind the boulders there, just like Pumbaa. Now, Pumbaa in Swahili does mean foolish, but warthogs are far from foolish animals. They're actually smart enough to steal the burrows of other animals and make those their own homes. We're finally a little bit closer to these ostriches off to our left-hand side. Ostriches like these are some of the world's largest birds. They're far too large to fly, but they still use their wings to help them change direction when they run. That's often why you'll see them outspread when they're on the move. When they do get moving, they'll reach speeds of upwards of 40 miles an hour. See those large legs on them, perfect for carrying them long distances, and perfect for walking in the road. They don't know any better. Their brains are only the size of a walnut.
For real?
Well, there is a cluster of their eggs off to our right-hand side. Not surprising they're hanging out in this area. You can get a little better view of that crash of rhinos tucked back in the trees as well, along with another peek at those bontebok. At one point, actually, those bontebok were so critically endangered that only 17 lived out in the wild. 17 bontebok made up their whole population. But luckily, through conservation efforts, protected reserves like this one, their numbers are actually growing once again, even reaching up into the thousands. So their future definitely looks promising. They serve as a sign of hope for a lot of the animals out here on the reserve, that their numbers can become replenished, that extinction isn't necessarily inevitable. But we've seen a lot of there on the savannah, so we're going to move on into Magadi Glen here. The glen looks like it might be a little greener than some other parts of the reserve, though the trees aren't quite so densely packed here as in the forest. This level of greenery can indicate that there are less large herds of plant eaters grazing on the grasses, and there are definitely less plant eaters over this way. Off to our right-hand side, perched on that rock near the geyser, are a couple of yellow-billed storks, those larger white birds. While they are carnivorous, they will try to eat almost anything that they can fit in their mouths. And that's going to include fish, snakes, frogs, from time to time even other smaller birds. So those yellow-billed storks are not picky eaters at all. And Magadi Glen here is one of the more recent additions to the reserve. Reserves like this one are a super important part of conservation. They provide homes to a lot of the animals that we've just seen out there. They also help protect and rehabilitate species that might otherwise find themselves endangered out in the wild. Now this is the road that's going to take us back to Harambe Village. Unfortunately, that does mean that our journey together is drawing to its close. But I hope you guys got to see some of your favorite animals out there, even learned about a few new ones as well. And if you'd like to check out even more animals, I would highly recommend heading next door to Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail. As the name suggests, you'll find gorillas over there, along with naked mole rats, meerkats, reptiles, a number of bird species, all native to Africa, of course. It could also be a pretty good place to earn those Wilderness Explorer badges. And if I happen to have any Wilderness Explorers on board with me today, we've been riding on the Simba 1. You can get your safari badge back in Harambe Village. It looks like the warden's just about ready for us up ahead here. Be sure to double check those roads, just make sure that nothing's fallen out of your pockets. It got pretty bumpy out there. It would be a really, really long walk back to Africa if you guys left anything on board my truck this afternoon. Alright, once this truck clears out, we should be pretty good to go. Perfect. Now here in Harambe, friends, we do not like to say goodbye. It is far too sad and far too final. So instead, I will leave you all with a Kwaherini, which means go well. So Kwaherini, my friends, go well, go wild. Have a great rest of your evening here at Animal Kingdom. Once again, my name is Stephanie. It's been a pleasure having you all on board, and thank you guys so much for joining me out there today. Alright, Kwaherini, my friends, have a great rest of your night, guys. Thank you, thank you.
Ooh.